In this episode of Full Court Press, we're going to talk about the second half of the NBA season as the playoffs are fast approaching. And of course, we're going to cover NCAA March Madness and the insanity and craziness known as Mr. Lavar Ball. So buckle in for another episode of Full Court Press.
It's now time for your favorite in-depth basketball show with the myths, the legends, Nard Dogg and Raindrops. Goulet!
Welcome to Full Court Press. I'm Justin Raindrops Goulet, joined by the Nard Dogg, David Bernardi. Nard Dogg, how you feeling?
I'm a little under the weather today, but I'm good to go. Always down to talk some b-ball.
Right on, man. Well, it's unfortunate that you're feeling the sickness. I guess it's just that time of year. But the game of basketball, it never stops. So let's get right to it. NCAA March Madness. We're right in the Final Four right now. We've got South Carolina going up against Gonzaga, Oregon against North Carolina. What are your thoughts on the Final Four?
Well, it's great to see Gonzaga finally make it to a Final Four. You always see them in the NCAA tournament. They're a high seed. And I was surprised to see that it was the first time they'd made it in the Final Four. And then we got South Carolina, who won their first NCAA game in 40 years. And to see that they're in the Final Four, which is great. And then we got Oregon, who are making their second trip to the Final Four against UNC, North Carolina Tar Heels, who are in their 20th appearance, which is great.
You know what? I'd actually like to see North Carolina versus South Carolina, a little battle of the Carolinas. That'd be something a little different, something interesting for the finals of March Madness. I think that'd be pretty cool. And you had mentioned a couple of Canadians, a few Canadians actually in the NCAA tournament. And there's still a couple of Canadians that are in the running that are actually still competing in the tournament.
Well, yeah, there's 22 Canadians in this year's tournament, and we still got 3 left with Dylan Brooks of Oregon and Dylan Ennis, also on Oregon, and we got Dwayne Notice, who's on South Carolina. And all 3 good, really talented players.
Yeah, it's good to see that Canadian growth. The past few years, basketball in Canada, for such a long time now, basketball has been big in Canada, but it's really taken on kind of a life of its own, especially with the rise of the Toronto Raptors and their recent success. But it's great to see a lot of Canadian players playing at that NCAA level and playing in the March Madness tournament. And it's a great tournament. It gets the emotions rolling. Kentucky fans are definitely feeling the emotions against UNC.
Yeah.
The Tar Heels beating Kentucky 75-73 to secure their spot in the Final Four. Crazy.
Yeah, that's always a really bad feeling. I think a lot of sports fans have gone through that before, where your team hits that big shot, you think you're maybe going to overtime, and then that other team just comes down the court and wins the game.
Yeah, just throws your night off just a little bit. Now, there's another player I want to talk about who's not in the tournament anymore, plays for the UCLA Bruins, of course. And, you could almost say that his dad is more famous than he is, or infamous is a more appropriate term. His dad is more infamous than he is. I'm talking about Lonzo Ball and, of course, his father, Lavar Ball. Lavar is gone, and he's just running his mouth. He's just a media hype train for his son, saying his son is going to be better than Steph Curry and Magic Johnson, all these amazing players, and someone like Magic Johnson, a true legend of basketball, saying that your son, who's still playing in college, is going to be better than Magic Johnson. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe one day down the line he will be, but I feel like Lavar's kind of running his mouth a little too much here.
Yeah, I think Lonzo Ball is going to be an excellent NBA player. Maybe he'll win Rookie of the Year and all that, but you got to wonder if teams are afraid of drafting him because of his father.
Yeah, they might be a little bit worried. What kind of baggage does he bring? Now, Lonzo is a good player, averaging about 15. He averaged about 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists a game around that mark, so almost a triple-double. So very great statistics, a very strong player. And he has said that he would like to play for the Lakers. That's an interesting prospect. I was kind of thinking about that. Do you think that if Lonzo Ball were to get drafted by the Lakers, he'd fit well into that fold, be able to kind of help turn that franchise around with that young core they've got going on?
Oh, for sure he would. That young team, they're winning a lot of games these days, too. Like they started the season off great with their good young players. We'll see, And this Ball family, they have three brothers. There's obviously Lonzo Ball, there's D'Angelo Ball, and then LaMelo Ball, who scored 92 points in a high school game this year.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you know what? It's as far fetched as some of the things as LaVar Ball is saying. Maybe down the line he may be proven right. Is that?
It's just he's talking too much, and like that war he got in with Barkley for a little bit, and even talking smack about LeBron James' son is just, I don't know, weird.
A little much, almost crossing over a line. It's like calm down, pull yourself back, slow down a little bit. One good thing that I like about Lonzo Ball is that in a recent interview, he actually said that the hype train and his dad's comments, he doesn't really let that get to his head. He just likes playing the game that he loves. And I think that's great to hear from a young player. Hopefully he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he just takes the game seriously so he gets to that next level of play.
Like, I'd love to see a private conversation between him and his father. Be like, Dad, I love you and all, but can you please just shut up, man?
It'd be funny to be a fly on the wall in the Ball residence, right?
And like I'm telling you earlier how they were both on a ESPN talk show, and they're both walking in, and LaVar Ball, the dad, is just walking around like some young kid, and then you see Lonzo Ball, and he's just like walking in all serious, like, why am I here, kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like, in a way, like, I don't know LaVar Ball personally, so I don't want to assume, but he almost gives off that impression that he's, reliving his youth or kind of living through his sons. I don't know. It just, he needs to take a step back.
The latest development of LaVar Ball today was that he was at the New York Jets football team's training camp back in the day.
Oh, exciting.
What a star athlete, eh?
Superstar. Now, moving on to the pro leagues, the NBA. We're deep in the second half of the season. All-Star Weekend was a good one. It was really exciting. It was a good All-Star Weekend. I was happy with it. And the playoffs, they're so close. The playoffs are just a few weeks away. And the Toronto Raptors, looking at Canada's team, the big loss, 123-102 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder on March 16th. I think that was almost like a rude awakening for them, a real kick in the butt. Because after that, they won the next 5 games. And, they're slowly climbing up the ranks. And they've already clinched a playoff spot, which is great. But do you think that they could make that extra step and finish third in the Eastern Conference? I don't know if they're going to finish second, but do you think they're going to finish third?
Well, I was checking both the Wizards and Raptors schedule, and the Raptors clearly have the better schedule to finish off the season, where the Wizards they play a lot more 500 teams, plus they go on a big Western Conference road trip against Golden State, the Clippers. I think Houston's involved in that in Utah. And the Raptors play a lot less 500 teams, and they could get it done. They're only a game back, so we'll see. Obviously, if you're a Raptors fan, you want the Cavs to finish first and not second, so you don't play them in the second round. Because that's the whole point of the Raptors finishing third, right?
Exactly. Avoid facing the Cavs in the second round. But who knows? Yeah. The Raptors, the Raptors could beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know the Cavs are so powerful, and LeBron is such a powerful player, but I think the Raptors could do it. They gave them such a good run for their money in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Anything's possible.
I hear what you're saying, but everyone knows that LeBron James is a different human being when it comes to the playoffs.
It really steps up that game from being that 100% player to 110% player.
Since the All-Star break, the Raptors have been the second best defensive team, and surprisingly, the Cavs have been the second worst defensive team in the league.
That's good news for Raptors fans. That's a great thing to hear for Raptors fans.
But like I said, it's just the regular season, and LeBron James is a different beast in the playoffs. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it's all said and done, if the Raptors were to end up playing the Cavaliers again in the playoffs, it would be a good matchup because the Raptors know they could put up a good fight.
Yeah.
I think if they were to lose to the Cavs in the playoffs, I think they could actually force a Game 7 against Cleveland.
Yeah, that's true. But I want to talk about Boston Celtics for a little bit.
Yeah,
For a
they
team
kind
that hasn't really accomplished much, I'm not talking about the history of the team. I'm talking about
of. I'd be like, what are you talking about?
the current roster with Isaiah Thomas and all that, Avery Bradley. It's just this team is acting way too cocky for a team that hasn't won anything yet.
It's true. They still need to prove themselves. Sure, they're having a great regular season. Isaiah Thomas is one of the best players on the planet these days. He's playing
Yeah.
some phenomenal basketball. They've got a great team, but no, they haven't won a championship with this roster yet. They haven't done much damage with this roster. So yes, they still need to prove themselves with this team that they've got.
Like their attitude is a little too much. Like what was it? Devin Booker the other night scores 70 points against the Suns,
That was
which is crazy.
that was impressive.
50,
Yeah,
51 points in the second half.
yeah.
And
Going
then we got Isaiah Thomas after the game just saying, "Oh, but they did that during a loss."
Well, it's in a way it's slightly disrespectful because I thought that too. I was like, oh, okay, well, the Suns still lost to the Celtics, but
Yeah.
at the same time, Devin Booker scored 70 points. Like as an opponent, you got to respect that. You got to show a level of respect. You can't get too you can be
Yeah.
confident, but you can't be too overly cocky.
And then the team got together and posted a picture with a sign that said 70, like that Wilt Chamberlain sign.
Oh yeah,
And then we got Jay Crowder. He's in the comments and he says something about, "But you guys lost." And then Devin Booker's like, "You can't guard me."
oh, nice, hell yeah. Like it's yeah, it's a little too much. It's almost that level of disrespect is unnecessary. You got to be professional. Like sure you can pass on those little jabs, but in a situation like that, show the respect for the guy. He scored 70 points. That's impressive. That's very impressive.
He's only 20 years of age.
Yeah, that's incredible. 70 points in an NBA game that young with that little
Yeah.
professional experience, it's amazing.
He's gonna be a solid player, an all-star for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, he will be. So I think maybe the Celtics will probably get knocked on their ass in the playoffs, and it'll be an awakening for
Yeah.
them. Who knows? Kind of just like a little wake-up call.
Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's going to be an interesting postseason in the NBA. That's for sure. Now, going back to the Raptors, I want to talk about Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka has been a great addition to the team, and as well as PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker's brought in that toughness. You talk about Phoenix Suns, a former member of the Phoenix Suns, PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
He's such a great defensive player, and he's a huge help in the Raptors being that second best defensive team in the league since the All-Star break, and he's done a great job with the team. Serge Ibaka has done a fantastic job for the Raptors, bringing in that hustle and that toughness, and that toughness as we saw in that fight with Robin Lopez. Ibaka, you don't mess with Serge. He's the power Serge. He got a good shot in against Lopez, as we all know. Robin Lopez missed, but Serge Ibaka got a shot in.
Yeah, in that same game, the post game, PJ Tucker is saying how after Ibaka got ejected, he brought the team together and he was like, "Fight for Serge," and that's exactly what they did. They went on a huge run after he got ejected, and they won that game. Like Tucker, he doesn't put up the stats, but you can tell that he just puts it all out there on the court.
You know what? And speaking of stats, like DeMar DeRozan, he's the dude that puts up the big stats for the Raptors. He's playing unreal, the best basketball of his career. He's the guy that puts up those big numbers. But you need players like PJ Tucker. You need those locker room leaders. You need those guys that are going to bring the toughness. PJ Tucker is the oldest member on the Raptors roster. I think he's a year or two older than Kyle Lowry and DeMar Carroll. But he brings that veteran leadership to a very young Raptors team because the majority of their players are born in the late 80s and the early 90s. So he just brings that toughness, that basketball smarts. He brings that great attitude that young players need to keep that strong mentality. He's just a great player, and I'm really happy that he's back on the Raptors.
And like I'm sure that Tucker and Baca going from two losing situations to guaranteed playoff team like the Raptors gives them extra motivation to play better.
Oh, totally. Totally. They've done some really good things for the Toronto Raptors, and Terrence Ross has fit in well with the Orlando Magic, which is good because I know you were never the biggest Terrence Ross fan, But after he left Toronto, he had a very classy exit. He penned a nice letter to the city of Toronto thanking the players and the fans, the entire organization, which was just wonderful to read. And I've got respect for Terrence Ross, and I'm glad that he's fit in well with Orlando and he's doing a good job with the Magic. Sure, they aren't going to make the playoffs, but it's a good opportunity for Terrence Ross to just continue to grow as a player, I think.
Yeah. Like, obviously, I didn't like him on a Raptors uniform, but players just need a change of scenery, and it was just time for him to leave the Raptors, and he's doing pretty decent with the Magic, and good of him if he continues to do so.
Exactly. You know what? It worked out best for both teams. Serge Ibaka, as we've said, is doing some fantastic things in a Raptors uniform, and things are looking good in Raptorland. The Eastern Conference playoffs, the postseason for the Eastern Conference, is going to be very interesting. Now, the Western Conference, do you have any thoughts on the West before we wrap things up?
Those Clippers, they just blew an 18-point lead, 5 minutes left against the Kings the other night. Chris Paul said it was the worst regular season game he's ever been a part of.
Wow.
And I'm just like thinking, why didn't they trade for Carmelo Anthony at the deadline? Like, I don't think the Knicks were even asking for much. I think it was Jamal Crawford and one other player for Carmelo Anthony. And yeah, I don't understand that team at all.
Yeah, because sure, Jamal Crawford can do a lot of damage. Even though he's an older player, he's been in the NBA for what feels like so long, and he could still do some great things on the court. But it's Carmelo Anthony. That would have really helped out the Clippers.
I think this is probably the Clippers' final run. We've seen all these years with DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul, and Blake Griffin, and it's not working out. And Blake Griffin's a free agent in the summer.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at the Western Conference, and they're all such good teams. It's great to see.
Well, they really are. You look at, the Warriors. As of now, they've got 59 wins. Spurs 56, Rockets 51, Jazz 44, Clippers 44, Thunder 41 and 31. And sure, you get down to the 8th place Trailblazers, they're 35 and 38, but the Grizzlies, who are in 7th, they got a nice comfortable lead in that spot. They're 40 and 33. These are some powerful teams in the Western Conference, but it is interesting to see, because in years past, the Western Conference was clearly the most dominant conference in the league. And sure, you look at the Cavs, they've got 47. They're 47 and 25 as of now. They're first place in the East, and the Warriors 59 and 14. But the Eastern Conference has really turned things around, and because their 8th place team, the Miami Heat, as of now, they're 35 and 38, and that's the same record as the Portland Trailblazers, 8th place in the Western Conference. So the Eastern Conference has really turned things around, and they've kind of taken on a lot more power than they had in years past.
Yeah, that's true. Now, about the MVP race, who do you think's got it?
I want it to be Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, he's playing like an alien. He's playing like a video game character. It's amazing the things that he's doing. All these triple doubles. He's playing incredible basketball, and I think it's his year. He has to be named league MVP.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous enough that he wasn't named a starter to the All-Star game, and I know that's in part with fan voting, but
I feel like that would be the first time ever that a player that wasn't a starter in the All-Star game wasn't the MVP of the league.
Yeah, it would be it'd be great to see Russell Westbrook win the league MVP. I think he's well deserving because the things that he's doing on the court are just unbelievable.
But Kobe Bryant recently asked about his thoughts on the MVP race, and he said that there should be a co-MVP between Harden and Westbrook. What do you think of that?
Ooh, that'd be interesting. Well, remember back in the early 90s, going to the WWE, to the Squared Circle with WWF, we had co-Royal Rumble winners in Bret the Hitman Hart and Lex Luger. So, who knows? That could be a possibility. They could do that, co-MVPs. I don't know how they would feel about that, but James Harden is certainly someone that's, he's been so close to being the league MVP for so many years now, but he hasn't gotten it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Kobe. Just give these two guys the co-MVP. They both deserve it. I know OKC doesn't have the same amount of wins as Houston. Houston has like 10 more. But I think it would be nice for the league to co-MVPs like that.
Yeah, exactly. Show that acknowledgement for both those players who are both phenomenal basketball players.
Or who knows, they'll just give it to LeBron James.
Yeah. We'll see what happens and see what goes down going into the postseason. The playoffs are very, very close. I'm excited for the playoffs to see how far teams go and who makes it to the NBA Finals, if we get a repeat of last season, or if we see something a little different.
Yeah. I just hope Lowry comes back soon so we can get that chemistry going with the newly developed Raptors roster.
Exactly. Yeah, get a nice flow going.
Yeah.
As the Raptors head into the postseason. Well, Nard Dogg, if people want to continue this chat with you, where can they find you on the internets?
You can find me on the Twitter at DavidBernardi7.
Excellent. And you can find me on Twitter at JustinGoulet21. And, of course, make sure you check out the Full Court Press Facebook page. Hit the like button. And check out the Full Court Press YouTube page for all the past episodes of FCP and future episodes of Full Court Press. Greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for joining us this episode of Full Court Press. It's good to be back talking basketball. I'm Justin Raindrops Goulet.
And I'm the Nard Dogg, David Bernardi.
And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.
You've just been hit with Full Court Press. Courtesy of the men, the myths, the legends, Nard Dogg and Raindrops Goulet.